Welcome to Prism of Torah with Rabbi Saf Aaron Prisman, engaging Divrei Torah, packed with stories and practical insights. Find us wherever you get your podcasts or at prismoftorah.org.
Shalom Uvracha. In this week's Parshas Bechukosai, there are two questions I want to share with you. The Torah begins in this parsha as follows: Im bechukosai telechu, ve'es mitzvosai tishmeru, ve'asisem oisam, which literally translates to, if you will walk or go in my statutes and observe my commandments and perform them, then v'natati gishmechem beitam, I will provide you rains in their time, etc. All the blessings are showered on us. But question number one, what does it mean walking in the ways of my statutes? Telechu, that's a very weird lashon. That's very puzzling that the Torah would use and express itself in such a language. The Torah is very straightforward, uses straightforward language like keep my commandments, like it does later on in the same pasuk. It says, observe my commandments. But what does it mean walk in? What does that mean? What is the Torah trying to hint us over here? It's very unusual. Once we notice this question and the weird phrasing at first glance, a second question screams out as well. And that is, why is the Torah saying both expressions? First it says, walk in my statutes. And then immediately after it says, and keep my commandments and perform them. It almost sounds very, very redundant. Indeed, this second question is bothered by pretty much all the mefarshim. Rashi on the spot says, well, what does it mean walk in my statutes? It cannot mean doing the mitzvos, because that it says 2 seconds later, ve'et mitzvosai tishmeru, and you will keep my commandments. It must mean toiling in Torah, the importance of learning Torah all the time. How does Rashi answer the question, why is it walking? Why does it say walk in my statutes when it resembles toiling in Torah? So that the Siftei Chachamim says that telechu, walking, is a bit of a hint to say it's talking about Torah, because you should walk in the way of the midrash Chachamim. Shetelchu achar midrash Chachamim. Okay. Dor HaChaim HaKadosh says another reason. Why does it use the description or the verb of walking? To tell you that you need to learn Torah also when you're walking. Like it says, Chazal tell us, uvelechtecha baderech. But I would like to suggest another mahalach that seems to be based on what the Sforno is saying on this pasuk. And it will answer both questions. Rabbi Nachum Ze'ev Ziv, son of the Saba of Kelm, offers a profound insight through an illustration. He says the following: imagine travelers who stop for a meal. All kinds of food and drinks are available, and everyone gets into the eating, eats freely, nothing. Everything they eat, they have an amazing feast. And if you look at everyone, they pretty much all look the same. No difference. But then you see one individual quietly washes his hands, carefully recites the bracha before eating, and you see also through the manners of how he eats in a modest way, through his actions, through how he, quote-unquote, walks, even in unfamiliar surroundings, not with all his colleagues and friends where he learns in the beis medrash with, could people really recognize his true level of observance, the way he acts as he walks through life. In different surroundings, not his regular habitat of yeshiva or with his family, that is really what reveals the level of a person is on. Meaning the true measure of your spiritual level isn't revealed by the way you study in yeshiva or when you're talking with Talmidei Chachamim. In those Torah environments, everyone appears to be observant and a good person. The real test comes from how we conduct ourselves when we step out of our, shall we say, home court advantage, when we step into the secular world, when traveling, when others around us aren't even observing, when no one would notice if we slipped. This is exactly what Yaakov testified about himself. Im Lavan garti, v'taryag mitzvot shamarti. I lived with Lavan, yet I kept the 613 commandments despite being there. This is what the Torah testifies about Rivka, that despite the fact she was in a wicked household, with bad people, a very impure environment, she still was a tzadekis. This is what the Torah testifies about Yosef, that he was still the same Yosef, despite the fact that he was in the most tumah city in the world at the time, which was Mitzrayim. You have to make sure that we are truthful to ourselves and show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we are really holding in the level we appear to be. And not only behind the yeshiva doors are we acting in a high level spiritually, but whatever level we are, and we continue to grow as life goes on, Mir Yeshiva. But we have to be conscious of the fact we're not just growing within the yeshiva and in an environment that has a high bar of spirituality, but it is even more important to do so when we walk outside that environment and we go to a more secular environment. I would like to end with a story. It's a little bit of a famous story, but it brings the point home. When the students of the Mir Yeshiva left Shanghai at the end of World War II, they traveled by ship to America. As the ship approached the California coast, it passed the Golden Gate Bridge, a famous landmark that symbolized for these war refugees the freedom and promise of their new home. Many passengers couldn't wait. They rushed up to the deck to catch a glimpse of this incredible sight. Rabbi Shmuel Berenbaum, however, remained below, completely absorbed in the daf of Gemara he was learning. When some fellow passengers urged him to come up, insisting, "Come on, it is a one-time-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see the Golden Gate Bridge. You're never going to have this opportunity again." He responded simply, "This is also a one-time-in-a-lifetime opportunity to learn Torah even at the moment when there's a desire burning to see the Golden Gate Bridge, where all your environment, all the people around you are running up to see the Golden Gate Bridge. When am I going to get such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to say, no, I'm not going, I'm staying to learn?" Because that is what's important in life. His son, Rav Meir Shimon, later noted that this response truly expressed his father's outlook throughout his entire life regarding distractions from Torah study. Rather than being impressed by them or succumbing to them, he viewed each one as yet another opportunity to elevate himself through sticking to learning Torah. But of course, when there was ben adam l'chaveroi, when there was an opportunity to help another Jew, or another Jew needed him, he would close straight away his Gemara, showing how he was balanced, always ensuring he's doing what's right spiritually. For Rabbi Berenbaum, the test wasn't about rejecting America or its landmarks. It was about maintaining the same devotion to Torah while surrounded by a world pulling in a different direction, demonstrating that this commitment traveled with him, unchanged by circumstances or environment. This was taken from a sefer called Kissa Shel Torah, page 42. Have a good Shabbos.
This concludes another episode of The Prism of Torah. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something valuable. If you did, please subscribe to the podcast and give a 5-star rating. You can also find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts or our own website, prismoftorah.com, where we have a full archive of all our past episodes. We would like to thank Yona Vefa for the recording equipment and Eli Podcast Productions for handling all our post-podcast productions. Join us next week for another enlightening conversation on The Prism of Torah.